Do you feel the pressure to grow your business, but doing so feels a bit like drowning? Welcome to Slow Growth Business, the show for business owners and leaders to quiet the noise and lead your business to success, one day at a time, slow and steady. If you feel your business is running you and you're ready to run it, you've come to the right place. Now, here are your hosts, business coaches Jimmy DeGroot and me, Kyle Bullock.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Slow Growth
Hello.
Business Podcast, where Jimmy and I help you grow your business slow and steady, one beat and measure at a time, in a sustainable way, and in creative ways, and in innovative ways. Today, I want to talk about something, Jimmy, that you spoke on a couple weeks ago at an RJO show. It was a trade show that we were at in Schaumburg, Illinois. We talked for 2 hours to a group about leadership. It was an absolute joy. It was a ton of fun. And we helped them see leadership in them, in their teams, and in their greater communities, and how to make impact.
Yeah.
Because a shameless plug, at Train Retail, the meat and potatoes of what we do functionally is we work one-on-one with clients, retail clients, to help them grow their profits and their people for a greater purpose. So when we get into that for 2 hours and talk to people and start that journey with people, there was a blast. You spoke about something and you asked a question in the middle of that presentation that I want to hang out on because we just didn't have
Okay.
time to flesh it out. But
All right.
but boy, is it powerful.
You are so good for my ego.
Oh yeah. I'm trying, buddy. I'm trying.
Make me feel so good. All right. What was the question?
You asked
What are
the
we hanging
question,
on?
and you asked it twice. You said on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is culture?
Oh,
And both times you asked the question, of course, everybody raises both hands, and it's like 10 out of 10, so
Yeah.
important, right?
Yeah.
Because culture in a business, we know intellectually, I think everybody fairly knows the idea that it's important. You want to keep and retain good talent. You want to find good talent. You want people to love your business. It comes down to a really healthy culture. And we've
Right.
known that you got to build healthy cultures to have, thriving workplaces.
Sure.
Okay,
That people stay at and you don't have high turnover.
precisely. Customers and employees, right?
Right.
Here's what I want to hang out on, though. Because you asked that question, and we had to move on to kind of the other concepts we were talking about. But everybody unanimously, both times you asked the question, said 10 out of 10, culture is
Mhm.
the most important.
Mm-hmm.
However, you and I both know that that's not the reality when we get back to our stores, when we get back to our companies. We
Right.
intellectually think that culture is important. But how important is it really? Through the actions that we do, are we really thinking about it? Is it really at the forefront of our mind? Sometimes, if not oftentimes, we get back to our companies and it's a second or tertiary thought, if at all. We just get back to the grind, to the to-dos, and often to the same bad habits that maybe create dysfunctional culture.
Right.
So
Right.
I want to hang out on a couple things. Like, how do we know as a leader, how can we really self-assess that culture is as important as I said it is? What are the things that I would do as a leader practically that would say, if I believe that culture is important and developing an important culture is important, this is what I would do to prove that I think it's a 10 out of 10, as
Mhm.
opposed to just getting back to my daily grind, getting back to the dysfunctions, and just saying out loud, I think culture is important and we have a happy team, but maybe in reality we're not. So I want this to be a time where we're talking about how a leader can self-assess if culture
Mhm.
really is as important as they say it is, and then what actions would they be taking to help them develop a healthy culture daily, weekly, monthly.
Yeah. 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 I love that you and I are working with Dr. Andy Wood right now. And because Dr. Dr. Andy Wood, I don't know why I keep calling him Dr. Andy Wood, but he is a doctor and his name is Andy Wood. Um, I'm just using the whole thing over
Dr.
and
Andy Wood.
over.
It's funny. We,
Uh,
we call him Dr. Andy Wood, and he never. I've known him for so many years. He's never been introduced anywhere as Dr. Andy Wood.
uh,
Uh, but
and
Andy
I
is
keep
he's a
referring.
leadership and business entrepreneurial coach and
Yeah,
professor in graduate schools across the United States on leadership. Super brilliant guy. Has a
yeah.
PhD, not a medical doctor, but for some reason, I think it's just because we like to say the words Dr. Andy Wood.
Dr.
But I
Anyway,
think at Train Retail, he was
yeah.
known as Doctor, the
And
doctor.
he's part of our team, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
And the thing is this, what you and I realized is that a lot of what we call leadership and culture temperature setting in an organization comes from leadership. And so we realize that there is a deficiency in knowledge of being a leader in our source. Why? Because we were really good at soldering rings together, and that's what we did. We worked at the bench, and all of a sudden we've got 12 people working for us. Or I got the business from mom and dad and took it over from them, and I never really took a leadership class. So we're working with him, and I love that because we're getting at the root of a lot of the lack of leadership issues. And then to me, a way that I can start thinking about the temperature and the culture of my organization, which is so very vital, is to just start paying attention to one thing every single day. Sometimes Will Guidara, in his book Unreasonable Hospitality, talks about, hey, you do not have the right to show up in a negative mood. I
Mm.
mean, you do not. You do not have a right to come in and rain on everybody's parade because if you're, business wise, it's a dumb thing. Stay away. If you're in a salty mood, stay away for the
Yeah.
sake of your business and for the sake of your people. But working on that one little thing, in his book, Any Dumbass Can Do It by Gary Ridge, he talks about we started asking the question, how are you doing? How you doing? And we really meant it. We wanted a real answer. And if we got the pat answer, we pushed past that. How you doing? How you feeling? What what are we not talking about in this organization that we should be talking about? What's the elephant in the room? And so start to look at all of these little things on a daily basis. If you want to improve your culture, you're going to have an amazing business. You're going to grow your culture into a trust and respect type of culture. But it's paying attention. It's just like working out, and you're the king of this. You're the king of working out, man.
Oh,
Swimming and just taking care of yourself physically. You got to start day to day, little decisions,
it's a
little decisions.
daily thing that leadership is a daily skill, right? I mean,
Yeah, and a daily decision.
absolutely. Andy's been doing a class, or he'll be doing a class with our one-on-one clients, 8 weeks focused on developing leadership, and they are not idealistic, philosophical approaches. I mean, there's philosophy in there, but
Yeah,
it's hard skills.
yeah, right.
And I think probably the number one thing that we hear from people when they come to us and they say, okay, I'm going to work with you, I'm going to develop my leadership, I want to develop my company and grow.
Hmm.
They go, I don't have time, right? My plate is
Right.
already full. How will I have time to do the things that you need us to do or want us to do to help grow the company? And it's a blanket statement. I would say this: how do you not have the time? My job
Right.
right now is to convince you, to help you understand how can you afford not to focus on culture development first.
Right.
You're gonna go, I got bills to pay, I got customers to see, I got, inventory I gotta check in, I got da 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 da.
Hmm. Yeah.
That seems to a lot of people to be, I gotta get this done and then I can get to leadership.
Hmm.
I want you to flip it. Okay. Even if it's a thought experiment, flip it for a moment. And I want you to think that leadership and the things about leadership are the most important. And once you've gotten through that, then you can get to all the rigmarole of the
Yeah.
daily
Yeah.
task list.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
When you
Yep.
flip it like that, You have to ask yourself, how can I afford not to spend time on that? By asking the staff a simple question of like you said, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
Truthfully, honestly. You
Yeah.
know, I saw a staff member last week whose mother was in the ER, had a medical emergency, and needed to be taken care of. Everything's okay right now, and so that's the good news of the story. But that doesn't not phase you. It affects you as a person,
Yeah.
right? You know, taking care of a loved one in the hospital. So they show up to work the next day, and we're busy, and so we just kind of get in the grind, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, this person's stressed out,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to be reminded, just stop and let's talk. You know, work,
Yeah.
we'll get to it. But you doing okay? I mean, you just experienced something traumatic. So how you doing?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
how can you
You know what
afford
I
not to do that?
you can't afford it. And to put that all into perspective, there are two principles involved. Um, and they happen to both be biblical. And one is seek ye first, right? And the end of that is, and all of these things will be added unto you. And the second principle is the greatest of these is love. Okay. And because when we have that, when we seek that first, when we seek culture first and our leadership growth and development, um, everything else it really kind of falls in line. Last week we talked about the coffee service. Will found an amazing person that's just excited about coffee service, right? He didn't have to go and figure that out. He found a person on his team with that. And he gave them, they called it an ownership thing. Now, they didn't give them actual ownership in the restaurant. They gave them the ownership of that's your baby, you know? Um, and so I love taking everything to that perspective. And whenever you and I have um a little issue that somebody's dealing with, we just get in our little helicopters and go way up here up at 40,000 feet, and we talk about culture and love and respect and once we get that figured out, then this all gets answered and figured out,
Yeah.
right?
That's what
Yeah.
reversing the tables on my story. I don't want to tell a story that like, oh, I did this great thing, and let me give you the story like I
Glorify yourself.
glorify myself because here's the thing, context of what I was telling you about sitting down with a staff member who'd gone through something like that. I had not done that all day long, and I
Yeah.
realized um, I was so busy and so stressed with all kinds of things piling onto our plates that week that when this person's going through something difficult and traumatic, I didn't have time in my mind to sit down and actually talk to this person about what they're going through. And
Mhm.
that that bums me out because
Yeah.
I was so focused on what I needed that I didn't really sit down and really listen to this person. Here's how it got flipped on me. Um, because people who were around me, you included, saw that I was stressed out last week, and everybody was like, "Well, there's a
You were
whole
impossible. You were
God.
impossible.
He's prickly. Don't talk to him. Leave him alone." And so I was like, yeah, that bugs me that it affected me, and it bugged me that I was stressed and I was annoyed by this, and I was, people who love me, you included, were really awesome to be gracious to me in my
Hmm.
stress. But then over the weekend, I get a text message from someone in that circle who just said, "Hey, I was thinking about you. Are you doing okay today?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And I was like, "Wait a second." They intuitively knew that I was stressed, so much so that I was ignoring everybody else, but they weren't going to ignore me back. They were going to go, "Are you okay?" And I was
Yeah.
just struck with the how it made me feel like I was important. You know,
Hmm.
I was important to
Yeah.
them. And it kind of changed my attitude a bit, going, oh, so as I tell you that story, I'm going to turn the tables on myself. That I'm sitting there going, I'm being blessed by this person's leadership who took the time to simply send a text that said, "How are you really doing? Are you really okay? I was thinking about you." And it made me feel important and special and valued. And so
Hmm.
y'all, as I share that, I go back to how can you not take the time? How can you afford not to?
Right.
Because anybody would, I think, share how meaningful that kind of a connection would be. So, anyways, I could ramble, and I don't want to. Practically, it sounds like what you're saying is just that one question, how are you doing, will open the door for people to have meaningful conversations and develop culture. And maybe if you gotta ask yourself, when was the last time you just did that? When was the last
Yeah.
time you left your office with all its piles of work to be
Hmm.
done to just sit and talk to your staff? No matter how you
Yeah.
feel about their performance, but just ask them what's up and just sit and listen to the hot goss for about half an hour.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh man, that's an investment. That is an investment. Yeah, and all of this in the long run has actual monetary gains for you as a business owner. But you know what? Gosh, if you'll never achieve that if you're doing all of this selfishly, if you're doing all of this, so it's got to be in your heart. James Taylor has two amazing songs. One is called "That's Why I'm Here." Neat song. I wish we could play it now, but I'm sure we don't have. I'm sure we can't afford it.
Yeah, that's right. Copyright.
That's why I'm here. And the other one is The Secret of Life. And he says, the secret of life is enjoying the passage of time.
Hmm.
Any fool can do it. There ain't nothing to it. Einstein said he could never understand it all. And it goes on, and it's such a beautiful poem. And I think about that a lot. And I've actually played and sang that song for funerals, The Secret of Life. And when you think about it, it's it's really it's really what our Creator wants of us is to enjoy the passage of time,
Yeah.
enjoy our time here on this
Yeah.
big blue ball, and gosh darn it, why can't we be doing that at work?
Yeah. I'll share
Yeah,
one last story and we'll wrap it up. Um, because again, the focus for this one is to help you think critically about self-assessing if you're actually as you if you actually are following the things that you need to follow, doing the things you got to do to build culture as much as you say it's important. Are you doing it? Um, I was listening to an interview that was really fascinating over the weekend by a celebrity, kind of like a B-level celebrity, so not a name that a lot of people knows, but it was on all the late night talk shows, and so
okay,
he'd seen everybody from Jay Leno, Letterman, Ellen, Kimmel,
Alan, yeah,
Fallon, the whole
yeah,
okay, everybody who's on late night, and he said what was interesting is that each of the late night hosts and their shows, the backs behind the scenes people, they all had a culture, they all had a vibe. And he said the vibe took on the persona of the person who was the host, the leader.
yeah,
And so he just described his experiences as a guest and all of these things. He went, I went into one and it was easy breezy. And you could tell that everybody was pretty happy to be there. It wasn't the number one show, but it's
hmm
been on for a very long time and it was easy breezy. And, the host of the show, the leader of the show would pays people well and take them out to have
yeah,
lunch and just hang out and they just like their jobs. He said another one I went to, they were scared. He said, I knew that they were scared. They were the number one show, right? Biggest
yeah.
thing on TV, but everybody in the back was terrified. They were scared of doing anything wrong.
Oh
The
wow,
persona of the person and the personality to the public was one thing. Oh, look at
right,
how wonderful and great this is. The
yeah,
reality behind the scenes was not the same way. And then as time goes by, these stories come out, and the legacy of this person is tainted. I'm not saying the person's name, people can probably guess if you're interested in that sort of thing, because I don't want to defame somebody. But it's a great example of leadership that once this thing closes and everyone's left their jobs, the truth comes out about culture. And
hmm
they all left and they go, that person did not care about me. They were mean. They were cruel. I was afraid for my job, blah, 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 blah. And yet the persona, the public persona was, oh, look at this wonderful, happy, jokey
yeah,
comedy. That wasn't reality.
Yeah, yeah.
And a perfect example, to me, this is a perfect example of how we say that culture is important, but do we actually live it? And the difference is, do you want to be the person that closes the business or retires your job and the truth comes out and everyone goes, my gosh, that person was a pain to work with?
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
do you want to close your job and close your business one day and then everyone comes lining up and says, thank you for your service, and they want to thank you for the value you've added to their life?
Hmm.
If the second is more
Yeah.
important to you, the latter is more important to you, and I hope it is, then the way you do that is through a daily discipline of just kindness.
Caring.
And if it's
Yep.
not at the top of your mind, practically speaking, today I need to text that person. Today I need to coach with that person. Today I just need to have lunch with that person.
Hmm.
Then it's not happening. And you're going to end up in a situation like the comedian described of, yeah, when the show was over, the truth came out
Yeah.
and everyone's upset about it. Well, damage was done. Don't let
Yep.
that happen.
Don't know. Nope.
Start with
And
to-dos today.
I want to add one thing to this. Let them know how important they are to you. I think so many of us want to try to hold all the cards and don't let them know that because that'll give them the power, and they'll want more money. Come on, come on. Let them know how important they are to you. You know what? If you don't, somebody else is gonna.
Yeah.
I'd rather. I'll tell them how important they are to me when they work for me. Um, yeah, just tell them that because I know right now, especially in today's employment environment, we are lucky to have people to come and work for us. They're lucky too because we're awesome leaders and we give them a job and we pay them well and we treat them like wonderful human beings. But just let them know. Let them know.
Yeah. Listen, if you're listening to this and you're going, hopefully you're leaving this thinking, I'm inspired and I want to be intentional. I hope you are intentional. We want to help you in that journey. Myself, Jimmy, and Andy Wood, Dr. Andy Wood, who helps coach leadership here at Train Retail. We want to assist you. We're not perfect. We're in the thick of it with you, trying our best to be imperfect leaders, but adding value to the people around us. And so if you want to do that in your organization, we'd love to help you. Kyle at trainretail.com, Jimmy at trainretail.com, or trainretail.com. And you can just check us all
Yeah.
out there and all the things that we offer. We have so many different programs, so many different assets that you can use because our
Yep.
goal, as I said, is to help you grow your profits and your people to help you fulfill a greater purpose.
Yep.
And so make culture is so important that you can't not spend time on it intentionally every day.
Yep.
Right, Jimmy?
We talk about it a lot, and we're going to keep talking about it because it is that important. So,
Yeah,
thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate you. Without you, it's just Kyle and I,
that's
and
right.
that's fun,
Yeah,
but it's a lot more fun with you guys.
absolutely. Hit
All
like,
right.
hit subscribe, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
Toodaloo.